The world keeps getting richer, this is evidently clear. Across the globe, billions of people are breaking free from poverty and joining the middle classes. Countries around the world are reporting growing GDP and stock markets are regularly hitting new heights.
But why is it that you feel poor and that it is in fact getting worse? And why does it seem that previous generations had it so much better? We're sure that Freddos were only 10 pence just a few years ago. But right now, this tasty chocolate bar will set you back an eye-watering 26 pence. We looked it up and back in 2005 it was 10 pence.
That's a 160% price increase in just 14 years, but inflation is just 2%, right? We've even been guilty of saying it's been 2% ourselves in the past, because that's what we've always been told. If the Freddo bar had increased by this amount over 14 years, then the price would only be 13p, half of what it actually is.
Okay, the price of one sugary treat might not be conclusive evidence of high inflation. But according to Andrew Craig in the best-selling book, How to Own the World, we are being totally misled. He refers to commodities as the real indicator of inflation, and government-issued figures such as CPI as pretty much meaningless, considering how much manipulation is taking place. The real rate of inflation, he suggests, may be closer to 10%.
10% might sound a bit of an exaggeration, but he does put across a compelling argument. But whether it's 10% or not, having read his book, we are in no doubt that national statistics of inflation are completely false and the real figure is much higher. Why is this important, we hear you ask? If you are going to protect your wealth and hopefully grow it, then it is extremely important to understand how your money is being eroded.
We have always encouraged people to minimise holding too much of low-performing assets such as cash. Knowing what we now suspect to be true about actual unreported inflation, this message is more important than ever. In this video, we're going to look at some of the ways in which the inflation figures are being manipulated and what this means for you. Let's check it out. Welcome to MoneyUnshackled.com, the investment channel and website that says you and your finances free. This is Andy, I'm Ben, and if you like what we say, hit the like button and click subscribe.
Also, check out the website MoneyUnshackled.com, where we've added a 4-step guide to stock market investing that you can download for free, and hundreds of pounds of welcome bonuses that you can snap up if you sign up to one of the investment platforms listed on the offers page. The link is in the description below. Let's get into the video. Why commodities are the true measure of inflation. Commodities are what drives consumer prices to increase. Wheat, rice, sugar, oil, iron ore, just to name a few. Commodities are the underlying cost in almost everything that we buy. They are stuff at the purest level. All gold is the same, all oil is the same. So any price increase in, say, oil somewhere in the world drives up prices of oil everywhere. It's the same stuff no matter where it's located.
Therefore, whatever direction these commodities move in must be the direction of inflation. In theory, if all commodities averaged an increase of 10%, inflation would be 10%. Another way to think of commodities is as a close proxy for money.
In fact, precious metals like gold and silver were originally money because gold is the same stuff wherever it is found and holds its value, and can be traded for non-commodity items like cars and swimming pools. Commodities being a uniform proxy for money itself means that when a basket of commodities goes up, then there is inflation, and when it goes down, there is deflation.
But commodity price averages are not used by Western governments as the measure of inflation. Rather, they use measures like CPI and RPI. Probably because the price of commodities are far harder to manipulate than government-issued inflation figures.
Why are we being lied to about inflation? Falsely reporting inflation is a shameful trick that most governments around the world are doing. It is in their interest to underreport, so they pay out less money in social security. Don't forget that state pensions and other benefits are often linked to inflation figures. Also, as national governments are essentially bankrupt, they benefit from secretly eroding the enormous national debt. This is done by high inflation, which reduces the real value of the debt.
Just like inflation, the national debt is grossly underreported, and so are the unemployment figures. And of course, another reason to underreport inflation is due to the fact that if you feel wealthier, you are a happier voter who is less likely to call for radical change in government.
After all, if everyone realised that they were actually getting poorer, then how long would this be tolerated? We are currently witnessing a paradigm shift. The Western world is getting poorer per person, whereas the emerging economies such as China are rapidly increasing wealth.
Manipulating the inflation figures. Remember, inflation is a measurement of price increases in a basket of goods that people buy. This is a mix of consumer products and services.
So what are 4 of the most deplorable ways the inflation figures are manipulated? Number 1, substitution. This is simply changing one item in the basket for something that is cheaper. Andrew Craig uses the example of cod. Perhaps cod has doubled in price, so instead of incorporating that price increase into the inflation figure, they could switch the cod with farmed salmon that may have become cheaper. The cod is still twice as expensive, but the inflation figure hasn't budged. See how easy that was?
Number 2, geometric weighting. Next on the list is manipulating the weighting of an item in the basket of goods, that is, its importance. Andrew Craig, author of How to Own the World, says that the US inflation figure contains an amount for healthcare which represents only 6% of the inflation figure, while 17% of the economy. Given the ageing population, there has been double-digit growth in healthcare inflation, but the impact on the overall inflation figure is negligible due to the low weighting. Although a US example, the UK inflation figure will be manipulated in a similar vein.
Number 3, hedonic adjustment. This is perhaps more unjustifiable than the previous methods. This is where the price of an item in the basket is adjusted due to some change of quality. Imagine that last year a 50-inch television cost £1,000. This year a newer model 50-inch TV still costs £1,000, but now you get additional features such as more pixels or a smaller bezel. In all their wisdom, you are now getting more for your money, so the price of the item for the calculation purposes will be adjusted to say £800. You still have to pay £1,000 for the TV.
Number 4, shrinkflation. Those eagle-eyed amongst us may notice that companies are always trying to deceive us. They may not raise prices, but they'll find a way of reducing quality in some way at our expense. The size of products that you can buy are always getting smaller. This is another fact that doesn't make its way into the official inflation figures.
A typical example of this is Cadbury cream eggs. Not only has a box of 6 eggs become 5, but they replace the dairy milk chocolate for a lower quality, cheaper chocolate.
Now that you're aware that your wealth is being stolen from you without you even realizing, you can take action to profit from true inflation rather than being its victim. We'll soon be covering exactly how you can do this, so hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it.
Question of the day, how are you protecting yourself from rampant inflation? Let us know in the comment section. Thanks for watching! On this channel we talk a lot about personal finance, investing and all things money. And if you want to see more great content, please click the subscribe button below.
This is MoneyUnshackled.com. See you next time.